So Adams Polishes just came out of the blue and released a brand new Pro Series pressure washer. This is the Adams Polishes Pro Pressure Washer 2.0. Now we're gonna do a full unboxing, full product review, testing the PSI, GPM of different nozzles, the nozzles it comes with, all that kind of good stuff, testing the amperage as well. However, before we go into that, I wanna touch on a few items really quickly, just so if you don't have time to watch this whole video, you'll get that right up front here. Right off the bat, this comes in 3 different ways. You can buy it unit only, which is really cool. If you already have hoses and stuff, then you don't have to pay extra money for that. Unit only comes in at $5.99, I think it's 600 bucks with free shipping. And then you can get a basic kit, which comes with your hose and gun and things like that. For $100 more, it comes in at $6.99, and then the full complete kit, or whatever they call it, comes with a foam cannon and all that kind of good stuff as well for $7.99. Now this unit is rated at 1200 PSI, 1.76 GPM of usable performance, right? This thing can handle more than that, but they tune this and rate it at 1200 usable, 1.76. Now in my test, you guys will see, those are not the exact numbers I got. They're pretty close, but a little bit better in some aspects and a little bit worse in others. So we'll be showing you that. But I do wanna let you guys know, I washed my van with this as it comes, using the nozzles that it comes with, and I did not feel any desire for any higher PSI or GPM. It did a fantastic job. It also runs very, very quietly. Now, small elephant in the room is that this unit does look very similar to something else in other markets. Ava, the brand Ava of Norway, they have 2 units available here in the US that are more consumer grade, and they're phenomenal. The accessories that they come with, the performance out of them, the quality of all the components is unreal. Really, really nice stuff. Other countries, they offer more units, just the stuff that hasn't come here yet. And there is one called the V6 that looks exactly like this. However, that one runs on a 220 volt. This one is on a 110. So I'm assuming that they went to that factory and said, let's do that and make some adjustments so that we can run it in the US here using a 110. That can affect performance as well, so I wanna make sure to test this and see how it goes. The design of this thing is really cool. It has rubberized feet around the sides, rubberized pieces where the unit actually mounts to the cage. It comes with a wall mounting solution. Really cool, everything you need. So let's go ahead and jump into the review. Okay guys, so when unboxing this thing, there's 3 different kits that they offer. They offer pressure washer only, then like a basic kit, and then an ultimate kit, depending on what you want, right? You can get hoses, the pressure washer gun, foam cannons, all within the different accessory kits. Now the one I got is the basic kit because, like I said, I have everything else, right? So you open it up, there's a bag of goodies right on the top here. That's gonna include all your nozzles, your garden hose connection, your adapter for the front end to connect your pressure washer hose, and then 2 storage units that'll fit on the front of the machine. After that, we go ahead and just pull out the whole machine itself, put it down, and everything's pretty much put together. A little bit of stuff needs to go on, like I said, just those little adapters. And then finally, they also give you the wall mounting bracket. It's really cool. It's just this little piece here. Obviously, you'll install this, and then this will just hook onto here, and you can just hang it on the wall. Super, super simple. Really cool design. Now, as you can see, this thing sits standing upright. So let's go ahead and measure that out just to see how tall it is from the lowest point to the highest point. And it's 21.5 inches, I would say. Widest point to widest point, 15 inches, and then front to back is kind of harder to tell for me, but probably about 13 inches. Really cool footprint. You have the Adams red color right on the front here. Let's go ahead and assemble this thing. You do have your power cord on the side, ground fault plug on it. And then I don't know for sure, but it looks like this is a mounting system here for your, if you had a long gun, then this would mount through here. It would stay in position there, and that was a little bottom there that it would drain out. So great design. Let's look at installing some of the accessories. So right off the bat, guys, on the front, this is your garden hose inlet. Okay, so you do have this little piece that you'll screw on here. So that piece in here looks to be, plastic. So they give you this adapter here. This will go on, and then you can thread on your garden hose. So we're just gonna go ahead and do this, easy enough. And then around the back is another piece. And this is something to note because this unit, if you've done any research online, a couple months ago, I did a video featuring the new Ava brand of pressure washers, Ava of Norway, that are finally available in the US. They've been available all across the world, just they're new to the US. They launched with 2 products to start with, both amazing units for the consumer. They are just universal motors, not an induction motor like this one is, but they are fantastic. The quality and components of all those things are amazing. I highly recommend those. I would say probably for the home user, like just as a general pressure washer around the house and all that, those are probably my favorite ones. All the overall design, the accessories that they come with, phenomenal. Now from that, I learned that they have a bunch of other pressure washers available across the world, just not here. They only have the 2 currently. This looks awfully similar to one of theirs called the V6, I believe. And I'm guessing that Adam's probably just partnered up with them, which is a great thing, guys. Like, there's no need for them to start from the ground up. Ava has tons of experience in the pressure washer industry. So going after that market using their technology, it makes sense to me. Another thing that makes me think that this is that unit is the connection point. Ava uses a proprietary little pin system. The reason they do that is because then you are still able to, it's a swivel essentially without having a swivel there. It's able to pin around. And that's exactly what this is. So we're just gonna push this down. We're gonna insert this. Good, release it. Now we are good to go. Now it's just a standard quick connect. You're never gonna have to mess with that again. To attach your hose or deconnect your hose, simple connection point now. All right, now 2 cool features of this thing are these little pieces here. I'm gonna go and come up closer to the camera for you guys and show you. So you have a quick connect here. I think this is a 1/4-inch quick connect for your foam cannon, and then this one will, wait, no, opposite. Let's see here. They're both 1/4-inch. One will be for your foam cannon, the other will be for your pressure washer gun. So you can mount them both directly on the machine. So again, guys, other than setting up a separate hose reel, you already have all your storage that you're gonna need because this thing mounts on the wall. You'll have your foam cannon and your pressure washer gun mounted on there as well. It already has storage built in for your nozzles. So again, really cool design. Now to install these, it's super simple. Just right on the front here. I don't know if there's one side that it should be. In the picture, it shows the female connection on the left side, so I'll go ahead and do that. You just back off the nut. There's 2 little nylon washers here. Obviously, just separate those, sandwich it into, so one nylon off, while the other one's still on here. I'll put this in, come around the back end, put the other nylon washer on, and then take the bolt and tighten it down. Super simple. And then we're gonna do the exact same thing for the other one, for the male connection point. Now, as I said, I have a high suspicion that this is actually a Ava machine, just rebranded. However, I will state, because the Ava machine that is like this is only available in other countries, it is run on a 220. So this is a 110, meaning we can use it in the US. So Adam's definitely made some adjustments to this machine for the US market, which is awesome because I've seen this online and I was always wanting to try it out. Now the numbers will probably be different performance-wise because a 220 will be more efficient for power onto these machines than a 110 will be, but that's what we're allowed here in the US. The allowable pressure, what this unit is capable of doing is 1800 PSI. However, they have this thing tuned so that the rated pressure, what you're actually going to be using it as and what we're testing for here is 1200 PSI. They also note that the rated flow is 1.7 GPM. So basic numbers, right, guys? You look at the active 2.0, 2.3, they're about 1100 PSI, 2 gallons, 1.8 to 1.9 gallons per minute on the 2.0. The 2.3 gets you up to that full 2 gallons per minute and actually a little bit above that. This one's gonna be slightly higher on the PSI, 1200 PSI, 1.7 GPM, but again, we'll test that. Now, as far as this unit goes, is it as robust as all those? And I would say yes. Obviously, we haven't tested this for longevity, but it is a significant machine. It's pretty hefty. I think it states on here that it is 44 pounds. So 44 pounds, it's not a light unit, but one of the things that I was concerned about is it being stable enough, being in this upright position. It feels very, very stable. No problem there. So with all that said, let's get into testing this thing out. But before we do that, I apologize. We do need to talk about the nozzles really quickly. Again, the storage for them is right on the front here. And all the nozzles are the same orifice size. What is the orifice size? That's a little hole that the water passes through. Why is that important? The smaller the orifice will increase PSI, the larger will drop the PSI, but increase the gallons per minute or flow through it, right? Makes sense. Now, that also varies depending on each machine because if you have too small of an orifice on a machine that's not made for that, then it'll spike the amperage all that gets a little bit confusing. But what we need to know is what size these are. All of them are the same, and they are all listed as 1.08. Now, what is 1.08? We're kind of used to 2.5, 3.0, 3.5, right? 1.08 is right between a 2.5 and a 3.0. If you look on the, I'll put up a chart here, but a 3.0 is 1.09, and a 2.5 I think is 1.07. So again, it's right in there, 2.75 I guess we'll say. So let's test it, and then we'll try and manipulate it. Because it's an induction motor and it's tuned specifically for these nozzles, we'll probably get a pretty big drop off in performance if we do that, but we'll test and see. All right guys, so I just hooked up a hose to it. Now I'm using the Adams, I think, what do they call this thing? The Superflex hose? Adams Polish's Superflex hose. 1/4 inch, steel braided. I love this hose. It's just, for some reason it's not, maybe it is now. The last few times I've checked it wasn't in stock. This hose comes, or at least this one, this is the longer one, comes with 2 female ends. That's important because this is the male end where you attach to the machine, you do need a female end for that. Usually it's reversed, like on the, a lot of the other units, it'll be a female end that you would connect to, and then the other end, so it would be one male end on the hose, and then the female end would be here to connect your pressure washer gun. Because this one is not like that, you need 2 female ends. So you can get an adapter. I'll link that down in the description for you guys as well, an adapter for here that would take that female to a male, or opposite, that male to a female, and then you'd be good to go. So we're about ready though to start testing this. Let me go ahead and grab my gauge. We're gonna test the PSI and the GPM with the factory nozzle, and then we'll test it with a aftermarket nozzle that's a little bit larger orifice. And I'd like to say thank you so much to my boy over at AutoHeads on YouTube as well. Really cool. He sent me this lid, and it has a nice gusseted entry point so that the water doesn't splash out on me while I'm testing that. So thanks so much, bro. Appreciate it. All right, guys. So I have water going into the machine now. The water is on. I have my pressure gauge installed here, right at the base, like I always do. We're gonna go ahead and pull the trigger. This is the Mikillen's Pro gun that I'm using for this test. Any of them will work. I like this one. Pulling this out, right, we're letting all the air purge out of the system. Everything seems good. We're gonna go ahead and turn the machine on. Again, it's just that little toggle switch on the front. Wow, really, it primed really fast. And listen to that, guys, that's a very quiet machine. I'm very happy with how that sounds. Very, very quiet. The only downside that I had about the Active 2.3, some people mentioned, like Matt from Obsessed Garage mentioned, that the pump head may be a little small for that size motor, which that's a fair point for longevity. I don't know that for sure, but that makes sense, right? The other downside of that machine that I had was that it was very, very, very loud. So a lot of people said, oh, it's not that bad, the people that have them, and you're right. It just sounds like a normal, like, universal motor. Typically when you go into the induction motors, they're quieter, like this thing. Like that's very, very quiet. Let's go ahead and take a reading real quick with my phone. All right guys, so I have my decimal meter up here. I usually do this about 3 feet away from the machine, so we're about here. Okay, ambient noise. Right about 50, I guess. Go ahead and pull the trigger, let the machine run. .73 decibels, very, very, very quiet. Now, guys, take that with a grain of salt. This, typically when you're doing a decibel meter, it has to be calibrated so you get completely accurate ratings all the way across the board. But I think that is a good representation of how quiet this machine is compared to others. So let's go ahead and start testing the PSI. Now, because all the nozzles are the same orifice size, right, that 1.08, we're just gonna test, just because it's easiest for me, with the 40-degree nozzle. This thing comes with a 0, a 15, a 25, and a 40. So here is the 40. We're gonna pull the trigger. Again, they have this listed at 1200 rated PSI. Fan feels very, very good, and we're getting slightly better than the 1200 PSI. So let me go ahead and show you guys. Hopefully this will focus. Here we go. And for me, it's getting to about 1250 PSI. Really, really good number. Let's see what the GPM is. If the GPM is still at that 1.7, I like those numbers. Really quickly, I have a 3.0 nozzle here. Again, this is about a 2.75 what it ships with. 3.0, let me just see if the numbers change. Again, the consistency on these nozzles can be off a little bit too. But this is spot on. So now, with the 3.0 nozzle, I'm getting 1100. Here we go. So I don't know, I might even like that better if the GPM is significantly more. So let's test it. All right guys, so as always, empty bucket, lid on. I'm gonna grab a scale and I'm gonna put it on the machine and I'm gonna tear it out so it takes it down to 0. So the only weight reading we're getting is what water is going inside. We're going to run this for 1 minute. This is the factory nozzle, the 1.08. We're gonna run it for 1 minute and that'll give us our gallons per minute rating. Now, again, I've talked about this before. These things break in over time and you can get a little more efficiency out of them, but right now, this is where we're at. So, all right, we got a stopwatch here and here we go. All right, there is 1 minute. And just to note, guys, I do have an amp meter back here. I'm just gonna, it was 14 point something, but let me go ahead and check it again for you. Yeah, maxed out at 14.6 amps. So if you're on a 15 amp breaker, this should work. The gauge I'm using, guys, there was an issue with the big boy machines, meaning that they were running under 15 amps, but sometimes they would spike, and I had no way of measuring that. I don't know if mine was doing it or not, because I haven't had any issues, but I am on a 20 amp breaker, so I'm not aware. This one, just full transparency up front, it's not showing any spikes, but again, I don't know. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and take the water onto the scale. Like I said, everything's been tared out, so we're only getting the weight of the water. And we are at 208.1 ounces, so 208, we'll assume. All right, guys, and at those numbers, we are coming to 1.625 gallons per minute. So a little bit above their PSI rating, a little bit below their GPM rating. Again, with more break-in period, we'll probably get to that full 1.7 GPM. But in order to see if we can get any more efficient, let's go ahead and go over to that 3.0 nozzle. Again, this will be equivalent to like a 1.09 instead of the 1.08. We were getting 1100 PSI with this thing, so let's see what GPM we get. And here we go. Now in theory, this should increase the GPM a little bit. Again, it's an induction motor, so we'll see how much. 208.1 at 1250 PSI. Now we are at 1100 PSI. Let's see what kind of GPM we get. All right, guys, so with the 3.0 orifice nozzle, we are getting 213.2 ounces. So we're just gonna round that down to the 213, test and see what that is in gallons. So 213, and we are at 1.664, so you'd round that up and you'd be at the 1.7. Again, this will break in more and I'm sure we'll get there full 1.7. But for me, the 3.0 might be my go-to, just because again, we're at 1250, 1.625. Now we're at 1100, what was that, 1.665, something like that, whatever it was, 1.664. So I like that. 1100 PSI is a great number, and we're bumping up that GPM a little bit. Again, I think it'll break in and probably get over that 1.7 at some point. Really quickly though, let's go ahead and check with a 3.5 orifice, because the numbers aren't dropping that much, and see how that goes. All right, so here is a 3.5. Let's go ahead and plug it right in, test the PSI. All right, we're sitting at 900 now. Let me try and get this to focus for you. Here we go. So 900 PSI, still feels good, but we're getting into that range now where, unless it's a significant change in GPM, that's just not where I'd go. I'd probably just stick with, actually, I would probably stick with the nozzle that it came with if that's the case, because at least we're getting the higher PSI, right, at 1200, 1250. So let's go ahead and do this. 1 minute in the bucket. Guys, I actually take that back. We're actually at 950. Okay, there is 1 minute. All right, and after 1 minute with the 3.5 orifice nozzle, we're at 218.3. Still, we're gonna round down and just run 218 and see what that comes to. All right, so with the 3.5 orifice nozzle, we're getting 218.3 ounces, which comes to 1.7 1.703 ounces, 1.703 gallons per minute, I apologize. So we are getting that 1.7, but we're getting that with a 950 PSI. So we're kind of fluctuating. I like those numbers. I wish it was 1200, 1.7 right across the board. And again, it probably will be over time as this breaks in, right? But for now, whatever you like, you can get there. So 1250 PSI at 1.625 or 950 PSI at full 1.7 GPM. All right, guys, so now for the final test, we're gonna do a foam cannon test, right? This is the MJJC foam cannon. This is the Pro V2. They also have the SV3. Both of them get the same amount of foam, which is a absolute ton of foam. So keep that in mind, right? This thing gets a lot of foam with all pressure washers, but when you have a good pressure washer, it gets silly, silly amounts of foam. Inside, I have 1.5 ounces of a soap that I've been testing out. It's very similar to Adam's Mega Foam, also gets a lot of foam, but a higher pH. So just so you guys can see the foaming production of this thing, let me go ahead and grab my phone as well so you can get a good view. All right, and here we go. So as you guys can see, crazy, crazy thick foam. Again, the foam cannon and the soap do contribute to that substantially. So as you can see, it's sitting on the panel. This is how I like to use a foam cannon a lot of times. I don't want it to sheet off that quickly. I laid this on really, really thick so that it would, you could see the foam production. But typically what I like to do is dust it like that. Now it's gonna sit and let the higher pH soap penetrate and break down a lot of the contamination, right? So that's looking good. Then I'll come back around, lay it on thicker after a little bit, once all that stuff has been penetrated, and then you can see this starts to pull it down, pull it off, and keep it really, really nice. All right, guys, so there you have it. Fantastic machine, works really, really well. Where do I rank this in the whole setup of things? I don't know. I'm a little, I don't know. So Big Boy came out with, they have the Washer Pro, and then they have their Duo. I think this probably falls in that category as well, the Duo and along with the Active 2.3. They're all within that kind of price range. Now, with the big boys, you do have to pay for shipping. This you don't, so pretty much the same price there. I think this might be a little bit cheaper. I can't remember off the top of my head. The Active 2.3 also, I believe, comes with free shipping. That unit comes in at $649. And then you do get accessories with that. The accessories aren't great, but let's just look at it, what it comes with really quickly. You do get the hose, which is a 40-foot steel braided hose, so that's a nice hose. So there's definitely value in that. The rest of the accessories that thing comes with, I don't really care. But when you factor in this one, if you go to the basic kit at $699, then you're $50 over the price of the Active. So it really depends on what you want. This unit ran quieter for me than the Active 2.3. That was my biggest discrepancy with the Active 2.3, is that it was not a quiet machine. It's not overly loud, guys. Some people comment on that video, like I said, and they're like, it's not loud. And it's not in comparison to like your basic pressure washers. But when you go into the higher end stuff, they're substantially quieter, and the Active 2.3 is still pretty loud. So that was my only discrepancy with them, with that unit. I like that unit a lot. This one though comes with a wall mount solution, which is super cool, ready to roll. It comes with all the storage on the front as well, so you literally have everything in one unit, which is nice. I'll leave that decision up to you guys. Again, I've used this once, right? So I will be testing this out more and more. I'm gonna replace my home unit, which I have out front. I built a whole cart and I have an Active 2.0 on that. I'm gonna replace that with this, and I will update you guys over time on the performance of this thing if I have any issues. I'm really, really happy that all these brands are coming out with these, Pro Series pressure washers, stuff that you can really get better performance and a longer lifetime out of. Because for me, as a professional car detailer, this, the pressure washer is kind of the heartbeat of my whole system. So yeah, I'm happy that more people are coming out with them, bringing in more competition. It's just gonna make the industry even better and better. So that's it for today's video, guys. Please make sure to like the video, make sure you're subscribed, turn on that notification bell, and we will see you on the next one.